March 2006, you said airlines are asking for permission to subtract fees they add to a fare, such as fuel surcharges. This not only happened, but much worse happened, and you predicted things like we'd pay for pillows, blankets, for soda, and I don't think you mentioned the use of the toilet, but that was next. How did you see this coming, and what do you think of all this add-on pricing?
Well, frankly, I'm a little surprised that some of those things came true. I think I was sort of tongue-in-cheek about pillows and blankets, but turns out the airlines some airlines are charging for those amenities. I think I looked at Ryanair, you know, the discount air carrier out of Ireland, who started doing this before any other airline, and I knew that senior executives at U.S. airlines were watching this. I mean, this is the airline that now doesn't want anyone to check baggage. And, I mean, they really want to get rid of baggage handlers and baggage, and they're charging, I don't know, something like $50 for their bag and $170 for a second bag. They're really trying to drive all their passengers to only do carry-on.
But that's a short-haul airline,
It is short-haul, yeah, it is short-haul. But, I mean, the owner of Ryanair was the first to sort of say, hey, I can make a little incremental income here and there. And as the airlines started losing money in the last several years, first for fuel and now, you know, with the decline in business travel, the folks who were paying the higher price ticket that helped make the airlines profitable, they said, well, you know, we can start charging for a seat with a little more room, or
a bulkhead,
or an emergency row, or, you know, a little sandwich and so on. And it really has returned billions to them in the last year. The luggage charges and all these, you know, and just this week, United Airlines announced this new sort of thing where you could buy a package of little perks that most of their elite frequent flyers in their highest tier get for free, like a seat, a little extra leg room in the front of their coach section, access to the red carpet club on that day of your flight if there happens to be one, and no luggage charge and so on. So they're really refining it and honing in on it. They're spending a lot of time on it. It's so confusing because you go in on a third-party site like Expedia or Travelocity or Orbitz and you compare fares, you know, and then when you get down to buying the ticket, you can't believe how much more the ticket is because you've thought, well, I'll just take that little seat with the extra leg room. Well, I'd like an aisle. I'd like to, you know, check a bag. It's making it harder and harder for consumers to price in a transparent way across several airlines.
Is this going to take an act of Congress to correct this?
Well, I don't know if there's anything wrong with it morally when you think about it. You know, you go to a hotel, if you want a massage, that's going to cost you something extra. If you want lunch, that's extra. If you want a larger room, that's extra. You know,
but when you see the fares compared on the GDS, Sabre, or on the computer, it's not fair in that respect.
Here's what I think Congress ought to do, or the Department of Transportation more likely, is when you see these fares, I mean, you see ads. I got an ad the other day in British Airways, you know, $201 from New York to London, or $189, I mean, it's even less than that. But by the time, and it's not British Airways' fault that there are all these fees and surcharges for security and airport charges and so on, but come on, they already know what those are going to be. Right. And I want them to put it in the sales price up front, so I know it's not going to be $189. It's really going to be $260 each way. I mean, don't make me, you know, get all excited, and then I click through the whole thing, and suddenly this, you know, what was supposed to be a $400 fare is a $620 fare because of extra charges. That's what I want the DOT to ask airlines to start doing.
Good. Let's try to do that. All right, getting back to your travels, these are the classic questions you get asked all the time. Your favorite places, how much time you travel every year. What do you say about favorite places? My God, is usually the last place you've been.
Well, you know, I do it a little differently. It's the place you discover later in life, in my opinion. My dad was in the Army, and he was stationed twice in Europe, and we traveled every weekend all around Germany, Switzerland, Netherlands, blah, 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 Italy, France. And so I got to know Europe fairly well, once when I was very young and then once as a preteen. I didn't get to Asia until I was 34. And that first night, I remember it distinctly. I was on the Star Ferry in Hong Kong. Actually, it was my first travel junket, my first free trip I'd ever had in my life. Hilton, which used to have a hotel there. I don't think they do now. In fact, they don't. And a friend of mine who was a traveler, I said, look, if you want to do something for this magazine, they're going to fly you over. I said, really? I've never been to Asia. And I went. And I was alone by myself on the Star Ferry at midnight. It was a crystal clear night, and the moon was coming up over Victoria Peak. And I went, Asia? So as a result, Asia is sort of my favorite place because Europe to me is I'm sort of familiar with. But I think if my dad had been stationed in Asia and we had traveled around, and I didn't get to Paris till I was 34, I'd go, oh my God. You know?
So it's
a surprise. It's something I think you do later in life that's very exotic to you, and you go, wow.
Which country has the most beautiful women, Rudy?
Well,
I have an answer to this, but
well, I certainly think Thailand is a contender.
Is that right? I haven't been there yet. I was going to say Ukraine or Russia.
You know, I've not been to Ukraine. I have some Ukrainian friends who are women who are stunning. I think Eastern Europe has they've got really great genes over there.
All right.
I couldn't agree with that more.
All right, that's a guy question.
It is a guy question, totally, and it'll just piss off a lot of people.
That's right. We may have to cut that. But people around the world are pretty much the same, aren't they, in all the interactions that you've had, or not?
They are. I think they pretty much are because we all have the same basic needs, wants, and desires. Now, you know, our upbringing, our government, our way of living certainly informs all that. But when you get down to it, you know, we want to live a comfortable, happy life. We want our children to do well. We would like to be healthy. And thank you very much.
Right.
It's just the government to get in the way.
That's right. Rudy, your empire is sprawling. It really is. It goes back to Savvy Traveler, which I don't know if that exists anymore.
No, the Savvy Traveler radio show does not, and the commentary doesn't. And you mentioned the Walks of a Lifetime. I voiced all those for National Geographic Traveler.
How does that work?
Well, they were free on iTunes, and they got millions and millions of downloads. And for reasons that National Geographic Traveler can't quite explain to me, and they're having trouble understanding, somebody at National Geographic took them down recently, though there's a move afoot to put them back up. So I don't want to overpromise and say you can find them here because you can't quite. But they were really helpful walks that you could download to an MP3 player and do a walk around. Tribeca in New York. Or Chinatown in San Francisco. But there were cities all over the world, and I think they were quite helpful, and they were free.
I think you had one in Minneapolis.
I wrote that one. I actually live in St. Paul, Minneapolis, and I actually wrote what I thought was a fairly interesting walk around the old mill district because the Twin Cities in the 1800s supplied most of the flour that made bread for America, which I didn't know until I moved there 5.5 years ago.
So they substitute for a tour guide,
exactly.
Essentially.
Yeah, and you can go in your own speed and stop it and start it, and I hope National Geographic puts them back up.
We're going to have to wrap this up soon, but I have so many questions to ask you. This thing about a boarding pass, why it's dangerous to leave it in the seat pocket in front of you.
It's gotten a little better since I wrote I wrote that, Steve. There was a time where your frequent flyer number was on your boarding pass, and your name, of course.
Oh, boy. So that's all
so
you
get some of these crafty computer guys, and they play around and find out how to get into your frequent flyer account, and they drain it. Or you might leave a boarding pass, on your desk because you're going to fill out an expense account next week. And you're in a big office, and there are strangers who walk in, and they see your boarding pass and frequent flyer number, and they figure out a way to, it happened to people. They found their mileage accounts drained. Yeah. It's simply carelessness. You wouldn't necessarily leave your checkbook out on your desk all day for a week.
And I think boarding passes are great as a remembrance of your trip. It tells you the date, the exact itinerary. You just throw it in a box when you get home, and it's ideal for that. All right, so Rudy, how are people going to see you in the coming year?
Well, we got 87 shows on PBS now, and they're in constant rotation in most markets, so you can find Rudy Maxa's World or Smart Travels with Rudy Maxa almost any time. They run endlessly because PBS agents don't pay for them, and as long as they could get good ratings, they keep airing. Maxa TV is the website where you can buy DVDs, and I am actually started a new radio show just 3 weeks ago on KFWB, the CBS all-talk station here in Los Angeles. In fact, I'm in L.A. now, and I'll be doing the show later today. It's a call-in interview show from 4 to 5 in Southern California, and there's some talk about growing it across the CBS radio network, and we'll see if that happens. Wonderful. You sound very busy. It seems like you're at the top of your game. I do. Really you are too kind. This is all the good news. We can talk later about... I know. Believe me, this year has been tough for us. Very tough. So... All right, it's been a pleasure talking to you. Pleasure talking to you, Steve. Thanks so much, and I'd love to try out your hotel in Rome sometime. And let me know. I'll send you an email. Thanks. Okay, bye-bye. Bye-bye. And that will be the show for this week. We had Rudy Maxa, and next week will be even a bigger and better star, but I doubt anyone could be better than Rudy. So we'll see you next time, the Travel Show Live with Steve Perillo.